Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, 24th chapter, the subterranean heavenly planets. And we're reading texts number 4 and continuation. Below Rahu by 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles, are the planets known as Siddhaloka, Charanaloka, and Vidyadaraloka. Report. It is said that the residents of Siddhaloka, being naturally endowed with the powers of yogis, can go from one planet to another by their natural mystic powers, without using airplanes or similar machines. Text 5. Beneath Vidyadaraloka, Charanaloka and Siddhaloka, in the sky called Antariksha, are the places of enjoyment for the Yakshas, Rakshasas, and Pichachas, ghosts, and so on. Antariksha extends as far as the wind blows, and the clouds float in the sky. Above this, there is no more air. Text 6. Below the abode of the Yakshas and the Rakshasas, by a distance of 100 yojanas, or only 800 miles, is the planet Earth. Its upper limits extend as high as swans, hawks, eagles, and similar large birds can fly. Text 7. My dear king, beneath this earth are 7 other planets known as Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. I have already explained the situation of the planetary systems of Earth. The width and length of the 7 lower planetary systems are calculated to be exactly the same as those of the Earth. Text 8. In these 7 planetary systems, which are also known as the subterranean heavens, Bila Swarga, they are very beautiful houses, gardens, and places of sense enjoyment, which are even more opulent than those in the higher planets, because the demons have a very high standard of sensual pleasure, wealth, and influence. Most of the residents of these planets, who are known as Daityas, Danavas, and Nagas, live as householders. Their wives, children, friends, and society are all fully engaged in illusory, material happiness. The sense enjoyment of the demigods is sometimes disturbed, but the residents of these planets enjoy life without disturbances. Thus, they are understood to be very attached to illusory happiness. According to the statements of Prahlad Maharaj, material enjoyment is Maya Shuka, illusory enjoyment. A Vaishnava is full of anxieties for the deliverance of all living entities from such false enjoyment. Prahlad Maharaj says, Maya Sukaya Baram Udvahato Vimudhan. These fools, Vimudas, are engaged in material happiness, which is surely temporary. Whether in the heavenly planets, the lower planets, or the earthly planets, people are engrossed in temporary material happiness, forgetting that in due course of time, they have to change their bodies according to the material laws and suffer the repetition of birth and death, old age and disease. Not caring what will happen in the next birth, gross materialists are simply busy enjoying during the present short span of life. A Vaishnava is always anxious to give all such bewildered materialists the real happiness of spiritual bliss. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kidamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Mangayate Grim Yat Kripadam Aham Vande Sri Guru Vinataranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We're very happy and grateful to be here at the lotus feet of Shri Shri Gauritai, Srila Prabhupada, in the Assembly of Holy Vaishnavas on this auspicious occasion of Ekadasi. In this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, the subterranean heavenly planets are described. And it is stated here that the inhabitants of Siddhalok, Charnalok, and Vidyadaralok can move without the help of airplanes because they have natural mystic powers. This is something which is beyond our conception. For we can hardly move with our body. We can hardly crawl. We are ants in comparison to the inhabitants of Siddhaloka, Charnaloka, and Vidyadaraloka. Not only can they move at their own free will, but they have many other mystic potencies. And there's not much more to say about this. So people who are interested in going there, there's a process to attain those places, but there's a problem. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna mamupete tu kaunteya. Now what's the second part? Punarjanmana vidyate. Correct. That all the places from Brahmalok down to the lowest place in this universe are all places of misery. Why? Because they're places of birth and death. It is not eternal. It is temporary. Then below those planets, in the sky called Antariksha, are the places of enjoyment for yakshas, rakshasas, pishachas, ghosts, and so on. And they are only 800 miles above Earth. So they are neighbors. It's not very far. That's why when people yawn, it breaks the ether and those ghosts and subtle entities can come. They're not far away. So yawning is not very auspicious. Also people have saliva, or snoring. It's the same thing. It attracts those entities. So, beneath the Earth planet, which has already been described, are these 7 planets from Atala to Patala, and in these subterranean meaning they're not inside the Earth, but they're below the Earth in their order. Bilasvarga, there are these 7 planets, and they have very beautiful houses, garden, and places of sense enjoyment. And they're more opulent even than those of the higher planets, because these demons have a very high standard of sensual pleasure. So, nowadays we think that high standard of sensual pleasure means advancement of civilization. But actually, it's not the case. Because people who are advanced, they don't give so much importance to the pleasures of the senses. Because they know that according to your karma, you will suffer and enjoy whatever it is that you're meant to suffer and enjoy. In whichever situation you're meant to suffer and enjoy. And we can see that all these sense pleasures are available even to the lower species. Naina deha bhajandri loke kastan kaman arate vidbujan. Even the hogs who are eating stool, they get the same types of gratification that the humans are so proud about. What is that? Ahar, mitra, bhaya, maitunam cha. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Readily available in all the animal species. In fact, much more profusely available than in the human species. This human species is not very good in these activities, which shows us that this human form is meant for something else. Because otherwise it would be better equipped for these types of activities. Now, of course, we know there are 400,000 human species, and most of them are uncivilized. And you can see that the uncivilized humans have a greater chance for this animalistic sense enjoyment. Because there are no morals, there are no mental blocks. Like here you can see, people try to enjoy their senses very hard. But it creates problems. That's why you have so many psychologues and therapeuten to help people how to get over their blocks, their mental anxiety. Because they feel, oh, I'm inhibited. I'm not a free sense enjoyer. I have some issues with myself and with the world. But if you go to places where you have more of the uncivilized human beings, they just go, okay, let's go. There's no consideration. Just go for it. So, if you're born in a somewhat civilized human species, you are very fortunate because you have the greatest chance, the greatest gift. What is that? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. You can question, why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I suffering? Why are things not working out the way I want them to work out? And how can I get out of this situation of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Nudarshanam, of birth, death, old age, and disease? Because even if you're in these subterranean heavenly planets, it is temporary. And eventually you will have to leave. Now in the heavens, there is disturbance. Because the demigods get attacked by the demons, and they have some fights amongst themselves because there's a feeling of superiority and inferiority and all those things. So there is some tension there. But in these planets which are described here, there's none of that. They're just very absorbed in their sense gratification. So somebody might say, very nice place. But there is a problem. What is that problem? That it is illusory. Why it's illusory? Because it's temporary. It only lasts for a few afternoons. Just like now, the sun is out and people call it summer. So what do people do? They'll take their clothes off and run wild through the city thinking, oh, how nice. But everybody knows it only lasts for a few afternoons. And then comes again the reality of the nice Scandinavian climate. Sets back in. So in the same way, even though you may be in these subterranean heavenly planets, it only lasts for a very short time. So, they're understood to be very attached to this illusory happiness. People are very attached. They do not like it if somebody disturbs their peace. That's why they make so many laws and rules and have so many guards to protect their illusory happiness. Because they feel that this is the greatest threat. If somebody is questioning, challenging my standard of sense enjoyment, is coming to take something away from me, or is coming to question it, is coming to challenge it and to disturb it by their preaching Krishna consciousness. So, that's why there is always this tension. When you go out and preach Krishna consciousness, there is always a certain tension. Because people have their status quo that they want to protect, their ideology And they can see that whatever it is that you're doing, it goes against the grain, exactly against the current of mundane society. Now, if nobody objects, it means you're not doing anything. You're just, swimming with the stream. But only the dead fishes, they swim with the stream. Those who have some life, they go against the current. So, we have to see, how am I doing? Am I creating some obstruction, some disturbance here in the society? Or am I blending in perfectly and going along with the flow? Sometimes devotees think, oh no, I want to just blend in. I just want to merge into the greater national tragedy of Scandinavian impersonalism. And I want to just absorb myself in this bubble of sense gratification. But it doesn't work. Why not? Because we're a person. And as a person, we're looking for personal relationships. And we're looking for the real happiness, for the actual satisfaction of the heart, which is not to be found on the sensual, on the gross, on the material platform. You see, if we were a body, then we could argue, yes, okay, how can we enjoy this scenario better? But because we're not a machine, we are a person. So we cannot enjoy other machines because we're not a machine. We can only enjoy in a loving relationship with another person. But that is simply a reflection, a perverted reflection of our original relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, let's go straight to the source and engage ourselves in loving devotion to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the demons are always disturbed when they see the activities of the devotees. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he opened a temple in Burma, and the neighbors were very upset because when the devotees were frying things in ghee, they got very, very disturbed by this smell. Now you have to know that in Burma, the special preparation, the very national dish, it's called nafi. Have you heard of nafi? You have? You collect all the roadkill, all the rodents and dead animals, and you put them in a pot, and you put a lid on it. And then the juice that comes from that pot, that's called nafi. That's the essence. And on festival days, on special occasions, they open the lid and take out the solids and eat that. So they were very disturbed in smelling these puris, frying in ghee. Why? Because they're so warped, they're so thwarted. I was just now in Western Africa for a month, and I talked to one gentleman who's working for Nestle, a big multinational food conglomerate. And they were saying that for their soups and different types, they always have to study what is the taste of the local people. What do they like to taste? So he said in Nigeria, people like the taste of fermented things. You know what fermented means? It means rotten. So they create in the laboratory a chemical combination which exactly simulates or duplicates the rotten taste. And they put that in the different soups and foods and different types of things because people like that. Just like it's known that in most parts of the world they put additives in the cigarettes, like the residue of chocolate, cacao, because people like that chocolate flavor. So they put that stuff into the tobacco, which makes it even more addictive, not only from the physiological point of view, but from the psychological point of view. Because people have this craving, oh, if I get this, I will get satisfaction, like from chocolate, like that. So all these types of manipulation are going on. But a devotee is a dhira, a person who is sober, a person who is tolerant, a person who knows what is what, can go to the bottom of things. So, when a devotee preaches Krishna consciousness, sometimes people will be upset. That's why Prahlad Maharaj told his father, Oh my dear Father, O greatest of the demons, Matirna Krishne Parataksatova Miprityo Vivyayta Grihabratanam Adanta Gobir Vishatanta Mishram Punak Punascharvita Charvananam. People like you can never understand these facts. Why? Because you are Grihabratanam. You have dedicated your entire existence to the body, the home, and everything related to it. So, with your own endeavor, with the help of others, or a combination of these two, you can't achieve that realization. Matir na Krishne Parataksatova. So how can we get that higher understanding? Only by the grace, by the mercy of a pure devotee. Burijan Prabhu, who was one of our teachers in the Krishna consciousness movement, after 40 years of studying Prabhupada's books, he came to the conclusion. He said, I've studied the books at length and breadth and depth, and this is his conclusion. You want to know what is his conclusion? Yeah. The ultimate conclusion of studying Prabhupada's books is, you have to surrender to the instruction of the spiritual master. Now, who is the spiritual master? It's not a person who can just smile and he's got many disciples and followers. No. Spiritual master is a person who can give you Krishna, because he knows Krishna. Yarideke tarika Krishna upadesh, amara jnana guruhanatara edesh. So, that is Guru. Nrideya madhyam sulabam sudurlabam plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam mayanukulena navasvateritam pumam bhavaktim nataretsa atmaha. How do you get mercy of Guru? By which organ do you get mercy of Guru? Only by hearing, no other way. You only by your ear. You can't see who is Guru. Because Guru is not something rubber stamped that he walks around, with all the bling on, like the rappers do. They wear all the different type of things. You can't see Guru like that. Oh, he's wearing big garland and big pavitra. You can get that stuff in the marketplace for a few rupees. Big shiny dress, Or you can sing very nicely, or he smiles at everybody. There is so many nutcakes, there's so many fruits and nutcakes, so many lunatics who are just walking around in the pedestrian area and they're smiling at people. Have you ever noticed? Some people wildly smiling? But there is a prescription, tagged to their shirt, in case you find this fellow and he gets lost. This is what you have to give him, so he stays functional, So that's why the devotees of the Lord just go out on the streets and chant and dance and distribute Prabhupada's books. And we ask everybody, what's your prescription, sir? What are you on? What is it? What gets you going? Because, as we could see the other day, half the city is on alcohol. There are those who are slightly aggressive. And the other half is on hashish and other types of herbs and intoxicants. And they're slightly cloudy and sedated. So, who is clear? Who is crazy? That is the question. A person who identifies with their body and thinks that if this body is well fed and well rested, then I'm happy? No. Or a person who knows, I'm a spirit soul, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. So, the boat of the instruction of the spiritual master is always waiting for us. Tomorrow we're going to take a boat. And we have to be there on time, because otherwise the boat will leave without us. And you know how it feels when you miss the boat, or you miss the train, or you miss the bus. It doesn't feel very nice. But this boat of the instruction of the spiritual master is always waiting for us. Whenever we are ready, whenever we're sincere and we're approaching the shore of the ocean of nations, that boat is waiting for us. Right at our place. And it is ready to take us across that ocean. All we have to do is with sincerity, with inquisitiveness, with honesty, we have to inquire. Tasmat Guru Prapadyata Jigyesu Shreya Uttamam. That is the process. So, 2 days ago, Anantasanti, the first and only disciple of Srila Prabhupada in Russia, he left his body from a heart attack. Srila Prabhupada went to Moscow in 71 for only a 5-day visit. And in the entire Lilamrita, the pastime of Prabhupada in Russia is not more than a page and a half. He came, he met Kotovsky, an atheistic professor, had a little talk, and stayed in the hotel, did a few walks, met some young boys, and preached to them for 2.5 days. The son of the Indian ambassador and another Russian young man, Anatoly, which was later on Anantashanti. And one Bhagavad Gita was left behind. But when Prabhupada was in Moscow, he was up near Moscow State University, which is raised above the city. It's a little bit on a hill, and you can see the entire city. And he was saying there will be thousands of devotees in this city. And now there's more than 10,000 devotees in Moscow. Right. Prabhupada was only there for 5 days. He left one Bhagavad Gita behind. Seemingly, external point of view, it looked like a failure. He tried to do a few things. He was blocked. It didn't look like it worked out. But because of Prabhupada's purity of desire, because he was simply trying to spread the message of Mahaprabhu, simply trying to serve the order of his Guru Maharaj, the spark, the seed jumped over and it sprouted. That Bhagavad Gita was read by hundreds of people, was copied, was passed around. People started printing the books. They started chanting. They started propagating Krishna consciousness all throughout the former Soviet Union. Anantashanti was in the labor camp, and he was also in psychiatric hospitals. They tested all kinds of drugs on him. He was severely abused. And later on, when he got out, he was never the same like before. But he was always keeping Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness in the center part of his life. So today, let us remember this great soul who has been so instrumental for the propagation of Krishna consciousness in the former Soviet Union. And let us pray at his lotus feet that we may get a glimpse of sincerity and determination and of that spirit of sacrifice, of selfless service. For it is the substance of the life of a devotee. Otherwise, life is boring. To just get by is not good enough. Because that's happening even in the hellish planets, in the subterranean planets. Just because we have nice, doppelverglasung, we have nice windows, and we have nice cars and toys and heating systems, it doesn't mean we're advanced. It just means we have learned how to survive in this very hostile climate of Scandinavia. But on the ecology of the heart, there is a lot of pollution. There is a lot of waste, and there is a lot of refuse, garbage lying around. So Chetadharpanamarjanam, the cleansing of the heart, is taking place through these Harinam Sankirtan. So Harinam Sankirtan is going on continuously all throughout the universe. But Krishna, he does not disturb the people in those subterranean heavenly planets. They're left to be, to do what they want to do there. So Krishna, he says, Yetamam prapadyante, you surrender unto me, I'll reward you. But the devotee is more merciful than Krishna. Krishna leaves them alone there. But the devotees are going to all these places and saying, Jiv Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole, Kota Nidra Jao Maya, Pisachira Kole. Wake up, sleeping souls. Don't sleep on the lap of the witch Maya. Chant Krishna's holy name. And worship Krishna. Bhaja Krishna.